Hi everybody, welcome to BioBites. My name is Jessica Frank. I'm the Biomed Program Manager at the Marion Institute. For those of you who are new to BioBites, this is our monthly virtual education series. BioBites connects you with some of the foremost experts in alternative health, natural healing, and biological medicine today, speaking on key topics related to wellness and empowered health. So before we begin our presentation today, I've got some announcements. First, I invite you to keep your mics muted during Jill's presentation as we are recording this. Second, dropping questions into the chat is highly encouraged. So open up your chat function, and as you think of things or see things, you want to ask a question, just drop it in the chat. That's what I monitor, and we monitor that for the second half. And I'll go ahead and announce that next month's BioBites is going to be on November the 7th, and all of our BioBites are Tuesdays, first Tuesday of the month. We're going to be with Victor Paul Giangrasso, the founder of R2E, or Reconnect to Empower. And he's speaking on his innovative way to foster children's mental health. We'll put that registration link into the chat later on as well, but make sure you're also getting our emails and following us on social for those links. Lastly, we know that today's presentation is being recorded so that later on, if you miss something, don't worry about it. We'll send that to your email. We'll also send you a list of resources, and you'll also get an audio version as well as the PowerPoint presentation slides as well. So no need to frantically take notes, unless you like that. Today's topic is all about natural breast health and recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and letting us know why it's important and showing us what we can do to keep those tatas healthy is Jill VanNostrand of Seacoast Breast Health. So Jill has been a professional medicinal herbalist, registered nurse, certified midwife, sex educator, counselor, and colon therapist with advanced certification and a 45-year private practice. She is the European thermographer at Seacoast and has been a follow-up provider there since 2014. Her treatments focus on lymphatic drainage, energetic rebalancing, and nutritional counseling. So she has 50 years of practical knowledge and teaching experience in natural well-being and regulation, herbs, nutrition, and women's health. And we are very happy to have Jill here with us today. So I am going to go ahead and click a few buttons to screen share, and then I'll hand the mic over to Jill. So stand by. All right. Great. Can everybody see that? Okay. And then I'll pass it over. Awesome. Take it over, Jill.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the sovereign realm of your very own body. Nobody knows it better than you. And I'm going to be talking a lot about general principles of health and healing today. And I want you to just take what resonates for you and leave the rest. I promise you there'll be some pearl in here for you. And I'm very, very happy to have this forum to talk about the same thing I've been talking about my whole life, which is natural women's health. And today it's from the perspective of our lovely breasts, which nobody knows better than we do. Okay. I'm going to talk a lot about what's called European thermography. It's called European because they've done this kind of thermography in Europe for over 40 years now. And in this country, there's a different kind of thermography that's often offered, which is digital thermal imaging thermography, which is like an infrared camera picture of your body, which shows from where your body's projecting heat. And that's associated with inflammation and certain courses of treatment for that. But European thermography is also called regulation thermometry or thermography. Regulation thermometry because it's talking about the tendency of your body to regulate and re-regulate for temperature changes. And so what this test does I have a wireless digital thermometer that is recording your skin surface temperature over various meridians, points, and giving you an indirect reflection of the functional capacity of organs and tissues and systems underlying those points. So the reason it's so useful as a tool for breast health is because it's not just a static image that you're provided with. You get 6 pages, which shows not just your first set of readings, which is your baseline or your warm readings, but then I'll deliberately cold stress you by having you dress down to your undies and stand there for 10 minutes in the room by yourself and just allow your body to thermoregulate the way it naturally will. And then I come back and take the second readings over all the same points. And the dynamic between the first and the second measurement is the actual test result. And it shows us in all of 13 zones across the body, 102 points that we're measuring, where your autonomic or your automatic nervous system is caving under stress, or what is the functional capacity of your nervous system to withstand stress, and why. Also, it will give us over 40 signatures of patterns that will show up things like sensitivities or allergies, injuries, dental problems, weak organs, or all kinds of things, parasites, metal or pesticide poisoning, all kinds of things which may be contributing factors to whatever issues you're bringing into the table there. And so it's very useful. Everyone goes away with homework because nobody's regulating perfectly. We all have some percentage of what's going on in our blind spot, as it were. We're just not fully conscious beings as much as we'd like to think we're in full control and that we're really cognizant of all the variables in our health equation. The truth is that in the autonomic nervous system, most of the information is incoming, not through your eyes and through your brain, but through your energy field, through your gut and through your heart, through these chakras. So these are your first feelings here, and the second ones are here. And this is where we form the reaction formation. This is where we form the opinion about it. This is where we form resistance to it, all of it. And so thermography is giving us a way around that and a really good look into the blind spot, so we can see the maybe why of what's happening and what to do about it. It does provide protocols and suggestions for in a Western medicine version of those protocols. And then in our office, we are offering more energetic and natural pathways because that's the way we roll. Shout out to Joanne Montero, my immediate supervisor and the doctor of chiropractic in Seacoast, on Seacoast Family Chiropractic. And I have been, she's been my mentor. I've been her student and apprentice for over 10 years now. And my other teachers also, Lucia Roncalli, my old midwife partner, and Lael Keene and Russell Jones, my somatic experiencing mentors, who have really, really helped me in understanding and self-regulating the autonomic nervous system to increase its functional capacity. And so let me just give you a quick flyover of history of how thermography has been used, because it's not brand new in this or even the last century. Probably our most modern antecedent in the last century would be the folks like Ted Morter, also his daughter Susan more recently, but he was the chiropractor who developed the system of BEST. BEST was the acronym for bioenergetic synchronization technique, which was the beginning of soft touch of opposite, bilateral points in the body. He discovered ways and techniques to rebalance the system very gently, by just giving signals to muscles and points, meridian points. And it was so effective that he was able to outline it and validate it. And that was one of the antecedents of thermography. There are others too. I mean, it goes back as far as, you could go back as far as 400 BC in ancient Egypt, where the folks were very aware. In the priestess healing temple, they would cover people with a thin layer of mud just to see where it dried quickest, and that would show them where the areas of inflammation were. So they knew that they needed to treat inflammation, and they also knew that mud was a healing modality that would draw stuff out through the skin that was toxic to the system. So there's nothing new under the sun. And as we rediscover it and it falls under scientific scrutiny, still this test is not considered diagnostic of breast cancer or any other disease. What it's doing is showing us what you may be prodroming for and how you can change the course of that before it actually turns into a diagnosis. And also, we just, okay, autonomic nervous system, we began to talk about this. If you look at the back view, you see the brain and spinal cord there. That's the central nervous system, essentially. And the autonomic nervous system is the one that's, it's more in your whole body. It has reflex arcs to the spine, and it's not conscious. It's all the stuff that you do automatically without thinking about it. So it's your kidney function, your digestion, your sleep cycle, your hormonal and glandular regulation, all of your the ways that your body just regulates itself automatically without you even knowing. And the more you learn about it, the more you realize you're just a walking miracle. And there's very little we actually have control over, except things like our breath and our ability to move and express ourselves. So we have a tendency as a culture and as humans to tell a lot of story and make a lot of drama about where it hurts and why and what happened to us. And this can play into a bunch of giving our power away. And when we look at the autonomic nervous system and breast health, we have to understand that stress is one of the hugest factors in breast health, because it's much harder for the autonomic nervous system to self-regulate normally when it's under undue stress. Okay, it just makes it very, very difficult. We don't have a large enough container to hold that. And so a lot of the somatic work that's very, very useful in gaining and retaining and reclaiming breast health has to do with ways of reducing stress and reactivity in the system, so that we learn over time by practice to approach all of our stories, all of the things that happen to us, with an open curiosity and a more playful attitude, so that our possibilities are widened and we're not so afraid to go forward. The autonomic nervous system is essentially, the autonomic nervous system is so old. It's the oldest part of the nervous system, and it has the function of saving our lives, but it's dating back to even cave and pre-cave living times. It's the ability to orient towards danger, and basically find the exits, make a decision about what incoming stimuli is. If it's, you know, are we going to make a choice? We're going to have to make a choice to fight, flee, drop and roll, play dead, or sometimes just do nothing, just stand there and try and become invisible. And there are other, there's a lot of other stuff about the autonomic nervous system that I could tell you, but something that's important to understand for human development is that it has two branches. The autonomic nervous system has, you know, the vagal nerve, the 10th cranial nerve coming out of the back of the head, has two branches. One goes down the back, that's the dorsal. The dorsal branch is the one that has to do with defense. It has to do with like a tight curled fetal position. It was the first one to develop when we were in utero. And the front one, the ventral one, is much more relational. Picture holding your baby to nurse. You know, you're 10 inches away from that baby's eyes. They really need attachment to develop their nervous system normally. And so these two ways of being in the world, social and also defensive, explain so much of human behavior, from tribal to warlike to relational mothering. It's one of the reasons I'm so focused on mothers and children, mothers and families, because they are the strongest backbone of relational, positive social change for everybody. So I'm looking here at the poster that's in my office about the 5 stressors. And I want to just fix my screen here. There we go. Major food allergies are going to really throw off thermal regulation and be a stressor in the system. For if it's long-term and chronic, then it's going to start affecting other organs, tissues, and systems. Immune challenges can be also put forth to us in bacterial, viral, yeast, fungal, parasitic. Some of the other things I mentioned, also scars can dysregulate the system. And some of these things are easy to re-regulate. This test you'll see pictures later of all the points that we take, but the dental connection is really, really important, because the root of every tooth is lying on top of a meridian and system organs that are connecting to your breasts. This back molar, the one in the way back, if all of your wisdom teeth were extracted, those are your third molars, they're gone. But the second molars, the ones that are your new back teeth after the wisdoms are gone, or even if the wisdoms are still there, that second molar, the root of that, the nerve goes through your breasts, through your heart, through your stomach, through your colon. And so it can, anything that lights up along that pathway can become ill and damaged just because of a bad tooth. And I want to particularly note that the way that people's thermographies have presented, and this is not a scientific study, mine is a small anecdotal sample that I'm talking about, but it's so obvious that I need to mention it, which is that since the time of the pandemic, since the 3 years around the time when we had forced isolation, when we were masking, when we were terrified of dying, when we had to deal with all of our scarcity principles, our strange consumerism society, which is geared for profit and not human well-being. A lot of we saw mental health deteriorate sort of globally, and autonomic stressors in the system just shoot way high. And to this day, when I'm taking thermograms, I'd have to say 9 out of 10 people are showing possible problems with their teeth, with that second molar, with TMJ, with not just bone loss in the mouth, but also periodontal disease, which is a biome issue. So when we say you're dysbiotic, or there's something wrong with the biome in your body, there are many biomes in your body. There's one on the surface of your skin in different places. There's one in your guts. They're all over the place, and there's a really significant one in your mouth. And breathing our own CO2 under masks, mouth breathing, biting back due to stress, all of these things have really jammed up a lot of energy in the head of people in general. And that we're all carrying a viral load and a bacterial load. We're still doing it. We're still carrying a load. And these are extra added stressors that I didn't used to see as much as I see now. And I'm just starting to see maybe 1 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10 will have resolved this. And the folks who are doing the very best are folks who are very proactive about lifestyle changes that have to do with learning self-regulation. In other words, they're engaged in somatic practices of everything from yoga or walking, regular exercise. Gardening is huge for people, just getting their hands and feet in dirt in the earth, which has its own biome and is known to have excellent bacteria for your own gut and for your own lungs that you breathe in when you're gardening. Who knew? But they figured out a lot since they figured out the gut biome in the last 10 years or so. And during that time, they also figured out, here you can see this beautiful picture of all of the little lymphatic nodes. There's at least 600 in the body, and there's probably 100, well over 100 that go right down the front of the body. And you're used to feeling them in your neck when you get ill, in your armpits when your breasts ache, in your groin if you ever have an outbreak of herpes or genital herpes or anything like that. Your lymphatics, you're going to carry a wide lymphatic load than you usually do, wider, and it stresses out the system. And we're never taught really how to balance that, how to work it out. And Western medicine, frankly, didn't even address it for us as part of taking care of COVID. And so whether you had the disease or not, whether you were vaccinated or not, whether you masked or not, I still see these things, all this energy, it's energy, and it's stuck energy. And so this test that we do is really, although it's not diagnostic, it's really useful in figuring out where the energy is blocked. And we have lots of tricks to unblock it right while we're sitting right there, which is why I allow an hour and a half, 2 hours for every client, every patient, because first of all, everybody's got a story, and sometimes it's really important to hear it, because that you just saw a slide about the history of you, and that's what this is about, is your story and all the things that happened to you. And when I take the history, here I am taking care of Jess, and we were really having a good time in there, but I got in her history every single scratch that ever happened to her. We wanted to know if we needed to re-regulate scars. We needed to know if there were head injuries. We needed to know all kinds of things, childhood illnesses, whether she had mono, because we know that morphs to EBV, or Epstein-Barr virus, which carries its own load of stresses into the system. And so her history goes all the way back into whether her mother had a normal birth, or was there forceps involved, or was it a cesarean, or was she a preemie? We want to know all these things. If there's no story that they ever heard about their birth, then chances are they had a normal birth, and most babies are born normally. And most midwives know this, and so they have great faith in practicing. But you can see here, here's a picture of thermography, and you can see that this person had the first baseline readings are over here. And you see there the blue and orange. She started a little warm. She was a little overregulated there. Those are lymphatics just above the clavicles. The clavicle, left clavicle, these are the left clavicle has the largest lymphatic drainage pathway in the body. And the breasts drain towards the armpits and up over the clavicle and down and centrally, and then are eliminated. It's really hard for them to do that, number one, if you're dehydrated. And number two, if you have a tight bra strap, cover those pathways and tuck your breasts in so tight that the whole area around your armpit is basically cut off from energetic circulation. Underwires make it even worse. So, and compression fabric is toxic. Okay, we'll get into bras later, but we have solutions. And so anyways, you see the warm readings on the first side, and then I left her for 10 minutes, undressed down to her underwear, and then came back and took all the second readings. And the places that are black, you see, are completely blocked energy. It's where, when it's blocked, that means the temperature didn't even change between the first and the second readings. So she was unable to thermoregulate at those places. Those are the places we're going to pay the most attention to and try and re-regulate right while she's in the office. And we're going to try and do that energetically. And then she leaves with a whole list of stuff she can do, referrals for lymphatic drainage, for how to do that, or for who to see, who will teach you that, more about it. It could be anything from dry brushing to Epsom salts baths to castor oil. There's so many, many ways. And, or, you know, people who don't show a lymphatic blockade, they're going to tell me probably a history of, oh, that's because I work in a store where I'm putting things on shelves all day, or I'm working in a library and I'm putting books away all day, or I'm doing something that functionally makes me move the lymph in my system. It doesn't have a pump to drive it like the heart does. It's contiguous. It's right above the circulatory system all over throughout the body. And it's right near the surface too. So when you're working it, you don't have to push hard. And so when you are working your lymphatics, you do it very, very gently. And we'll go over some of that later on. So regulation, thermometry or thermography, we're not saying it should replace diagnostic methods. I don't even offer people insurance codes because I don't want insurance companies determining my health protocols. I'm much more used to going around insurance companies and offering people something more like a non-invasive method of looking at healthy breast tissue, and one that won't irradiate them unnecessarily. And so we're going to get a lot of information from this test about not just acute, but chronic disease. And it's useful even if people present with a diagnosis. Say they come in and say, well, I have MS, or I have a breast lump, or I've been told that I have cancer already, and it's this stage, and it's this lump, and it's over here. Still, we can look at the results and see, what can we do to reverse those pathways that have been clogged, poisoned, or blocked in ways that can be corrected? Because we're working in the terrain underlying the inflammation. We're not just trying to correct the symptom, which in Western medicine is very much the focus. They're focused on surgical removal and treatment with chemo and radiation to try and clean things up and start again, you know, so that you have a fresh start. But it's not really a fresh start if you haven't done anything to change the terrain out of which those things happened. Okay, here's the data page. You can see a thermography data page that shows the 13 areas which are listed on one page as hallmarks of breast health. And if you get flagged on more than 5 of those, you're going to have extra homework and maybe come back for, you know, in less than a year for a review of how you're doing with all that. And you can see the underlined ones show in area 10 where the energy is most blocked. So she's only working on 40% of functional capacity in her jaw and her teeth. And, you know, there's no surprise there. There've been a lot of head injuries, a broken jaw. And even though she's not telling that like it's a big dramatic story, The body keeps the score. We know that, you know, it's a great book. You've heard Dr. Tom and others refer to it. It's in the Marion Library and you can Google it, get it on audiobooks. It's great for a long drive. But it talks about the role of the autonomic nervous system in determining health and how 80% of incoming information to us, that means ideas, thoughts, actions, images, all sensational things coming in are they're unconscious. We don't even know we're registering them, and the body's doing this and that about it. And we're all 20%, like we're multitasking. We got the phone going, we got the music on, we're picking up the kids, we're doing the dinner, we're having the, you know, and so we're feeling like we're right in step and we're in full control. And not really. No, on a good day, you're lucky if you can control your breath. And the best thing we can do is slow down. I don't know if you can, in the back, you'll see in the back here, there's a picture of me standing in a wave. And that's because energy goes through us like waves, just like sound goes through us in waves. Light, there are light waves, there are magnetic waves. And when we're activated by a hard feeling or a shock, any impact, it goes through us like a wave. And the best thing we can do is slow way down, not react, but just let it go through us. Let the wave go through. Say, that just happened. Okay. One of my teachers, one of my somatic teachers was Russell Jones, is fond of saying, look, if you fall down, stay down. Don't be all jumping up to first see who saw you and then laugh and make a joke about it. Stay down, take an inventory of, you know, orient where you are. Are you dizzy? Can you see? Are you in pain? Did you break? And get up really slowly and pay attention to your breath. And all of these things that we feel so much shame about not being in control as humans in general, because it's the way we've been trained. And nobody ever told us this stuff. It's not true that we learned everything we needed to learn in kindergarten. Not at all. Unless you were lucky enough to go to one of those kindergartens, like a Montessori or Summerhill school, where they were teaching Qigong, functional meditation and stuff like that, you know. So here's a nice picture of lymph drainage in the breast. And you can see the pathways that are getting blocked by certain clothing that we wear. It's really important realization for the whole world that compression clothing, the stuff that we wear for sports and sports bras and bike shorts and you know, anything that's that stretchy fabric that is compression clothing is very toxic. It all comes from the same place. It doesn't matter how high end it is. If it's North Face, it's still toxic. And so the best thing one of the best things you can do is go organic cotton clothing or linen, which has a much higher vibratory rate anyway than any kind of synthetic or acrylic in clothing, and will raise your own vibration in your energy field. By the way, your field is generating, your own heart is generating a field 12 feet, 9 to 12 feet wide, projecting out in every direction when you're at your highest rate of vibrating, in your best mood, in your best health, in your best self, in your most grounded. And if it's less than that, then it's because your autonomic nervous system is blocked and needs some attention. And that's your body talking to you. If you wake up dizzy, clogged, plugged, unclear, so on. Okay. So here's your lymphatic massage for your head and neck. And so the instructions are right here, but these are old Qigong, medical Qigong exercises that I learned from Master Wu. You'll see on the resource sheet, I've listed Way of the Dragon, and there's many YouTube videos you can get that are 3 minutes, 7 minutes, 12 minutes, that will help you with this kind of movement of energy blocks. They don't encourage you to focus on where it hurts. They encourage you to just get the whole system to regulate itself by these gentle movements and breaths and visualizations. And the knots will take care of themselves. So all my friends and my people know I'm famous for telling them to ditch their bras. And about half of them just laugh at me and go, yeah, no. I mean, you have no idea how many people cannot even show up to my office without like a full bra on, full makeup, hair done, everything, even though I've sent them the guidelines and asked them to show up with a bed head, don't brush your teeth, don't use lotions, just come in. I don't really want you overregulated when you get there, because your first readings will be overregulated and warm. And if we start warm, then the warm places are going to get even warmer in the cold stress. Okay. And by the way, that test, one of the reasons it's working is it's sort of mimicking your mammalian dive reflex. That's if you fell off an iceberg, all of your head points would immediately heat up, your heartbeat would slow way down, and all your body points would get really cold. And that's to spare your central nervous system, your brain. It's why a lot of near drowning victims don't have brain damage when they're finally brought to slowly with cold and then warm water over a long time. Anyway, Kegel exercises. Here's your sacral pump right here. And it's, most of us will remember Kegels, but this is the muscle that you activate to stop the stream of peeing. We're told to do it when we're pregnant in order to really tone up the birth canal so it has much less chance of tearing when it needs to stretch to 10 centimeters. And here we go with, I made Jess include these pictures because I made a beautiful bosom buddy salve to give away as party favors for everybody who comes to see me this October, this fall. The calendula came from my garden and also from the garden at Regan's Care at Westview in Fairhaven, where there was a beautiful, beautiful garden this year that I got to help tend. And they're being infused here in St. John's wort oil. And the yellow flowers are the evening primrose flowers, which are very, very high in essential fatty acids and very good for you. You could eat these flowers too. The petals of them are great. I just had calendula petals in my oatmeal this morning. Awesome. And there's strong immune system stimulators. They really help regulate the autonomic nervous system around the breasts. And St. John's wort too is used topically. People know very often that if you take it internally, it can help with emotional stuff. And if you use it topically, it's not just a painkiller, it's antiviral, antibacterial, and it's a muscle relaxer. So it's a very, very nice way. I think we must be coming to the end because she's listing all the resources here. There are others too. I really wanted to talk a lot about the books I've been reading lately, but they're all on here. And maybe people have questions too about that. I don't know. I've been doing this for a long, long time, and everybody who presents is different. We can take care of men too, by the way. The 13 hallmarks of breast health are switched to the algorithm of the 9 hallmarks of prostate and testicular health, and don't measure their breasts at all, because really only 4% of the breast cancers that happen are happening to men. Most of them happen to women.
Thanks,
so,
man.
Yeah.
Thanks for ending on that note, actually. That was a question I had. Great. So I appreciate that, everybody. And that wonderful presentation, Jill. And we do have a couple of questions that came in. They were previously submitted. So let me bring that up. Besides the mammogram, what other tests should someone with dense breast tissue have?
Dense breasts are not
At what time frame later in life could you kind of slow it down or curtail those tests?
Yeah, that's really very individual. There's actually more of an incidence of breast cancer post-menopausally, but it's generally not the kind of breast cancer. It's a slower growing one, and it's generally not the ones that kill you. Part of the problem with aggressive diagnosis of lobular or ductal breast cancer is that cancer in situ does not always metastasize. And I think it was Christiane Northup, or one of the um, really famous doctors who was taking care of women for a long time, who figured out that on autopsy, for other reasons, something like 40 or a little over 40% of women had in situ breast cancers that were never symptomatic. And so there's no telling how, I mean, your body makes some cancer cells. Come on, we are a process. We're not just a person. We are a process of over 300 trillion cells changing second by nanosecond, 24/7. And a lot of the replications get screwed up for whatever reason, chemicals in the soil and in the water, solar flares, 5G, stress, illness, viral load, parasites, who knows? All of these things can trigger a growth of a cancer that would otherwise just not be a problem. And so I think the things that are really diagnostic would be a blood test and a biopsy. And if you have a screening mammogram that looks suspicious, then they're going to want to haul you back for a really serious mammogram that takes a lot more pictures, and then all those other things too. You might end up with PET scans, MRIs, all kinds of things depending on your doctor. But right now, insurance companies have us all set up to accept mammography as our first diagnostic test for breast cancer. And the truth is, ultrasound is also diagnostic, and so are the other things I mentioned. And some of those things don't have radiation. So these things are worth considering in your sovereign realm before you turn your power over to someone who said something really scary to you. Let's treat what happened when you got a violent diagnosis. Let's treat that blocked energy before we react to it and do 1,000 tests, which may or may not be helpful to you. So,
Thanks.
Yeah.
There was a kind of a similar question that came in, and please feel free, everybody in the room who, if you have something on your mind, go ahead and chat that into the chat box and we'll get to it. For someone who's had a mastectomy, are there any therapeutic home remedies, care for that scars in particular?
Oh,
Can you speak to that?
Okay. Let's talk about castor oil. And actually, while I got the castor oil going, let me tell you, you can apply it to your breast tissue and then put on your wilted cabbage leaves, because cabbage has a tremendous amount. It's like one of the strongest anti-cancer foods there is. And you can use it. See how it makes little bra cups? It actually, I forget the Latin name of it, but it starts with bra. And you can put them right over your breasts. I won't take my shirt off because it's just too sensational. But here's my shout out to anthroposophic medicine here. Can you see? The wound reveals the cure. Hygeia said that. I've been wearing this t-shirt since the 70s, by the way. And you can put the cabbage leaves directly on your skin, or you can put your bosom buddy salve on there, or some castor oil. Olive oil is also very healing. You can just put it on your skin. And I wilted these in a little bit of steam, but any port in a storm, if you just have a raw cabbage leaf, you can squish it up in your hand or chew it, macerate it, and break down some of the cell walls and put it right on there like a poultice. And it can stay on for hours. You can put it on right on your skin under a tight little t-shirt. Or if you have to wear a bra, you could put it inside a bra. But there are companies, I want to just say, there are companies that make organic cotton bras. And there are a couple listed in your resources. And I just I just want people to be aware that yes, there are plenty of things you can do at home. Um, One of my first teachers, Susan Weed, and also Janine Parvati, she was even before Susan. And that's where I got this quote from Hygeia, the Greek goddess of health. Said the wound reveals the cure. I mean, that's my shout out to anthroposophic medicine, meaning we're going to look at we're going to see ourselves as a holograph of all natural forces and all of the ways, all of the formative factors that went into making us who we are in this moment. And we're going to realize that it's just a passing moment. It's just another day. And tomorrow's going to be different, and we're going to have new resources and different resources. And instead of making the story static and saying, well, I have cancer, it's like I have a process that I'm working through, and this is my journey. And every day I'm open and curious to receiving the best medicine for me today. And so when you're applying a poultice, or when you're eating that bar of chocolate that's forbidden from your diet, or that piece of cake, or whatever it is that you're feeling really bad about, be careful how you message yourself when you're taking energy into your body. Make it a good story, okay? This is the best possible medicine I could use right now. If you're using it for a resource, then make sure you're resourcing yourself with love, and be very careful about sending yourself negative messages, and or sending them out to other people. My favorite teacher, Joanne Montero, is fond of saying, if you knew the power of a negative thought, you'd never have another one. And it's really important to practice that as much as you can. And it's a practice, everybody does it. Everyone goes, oh, that nah, 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 about the guy who whatever cut us off in traffic, or we all react. And the point is to try and learn to catch ourselves before the reaction and give ourselves a moment of choice, so that we can really know, how can we contain that. Can we just feel that uncomfortable feeling in the body and see where it lands, and what energy in us is stuck that pisses us off so much, because that's the energy we need to move. We can't change anybody else's behavior, only our own. And so in anthroposophic medicine, Rudolf Steiner was the big proponent of it in our most recent history. And he's the same guy who figured out, just by like sort of daydreaming and observing nature and being really curious, he saw the relationship between mistletoe in oak trees. And he figured out that mistletoe is actually a really good cancer for breast medicine. And it stands up to this day as extending women's lives and as a cancer treatment. So, I do think that you have to look at everything and feel everything. And if you end up with a lump or a mastectomy, I think it's really important to deal with body image dysmorphia and shame that we've all been made to feel because we don't have perfect breasts. Mine are too small, hers are too big. My nipples don't go the right way. I need implants. I need this. I have to be perfect. I need more cleavage. No. What if you're perfect? And can we just let that in? Because we make food with these things. Men can't do that. We create life with these bodies. We're so powerful. It's scary to a lot of people. And it's also an amazing, amazing realization. What a walking miracle you are. What if you're just a tower of color and light and electromagnetic love? What if you are? Because that's my latest theory. And it's not just mine. There are a lot of people who are practicing medicine this way in the New World. The New World meaning since COVID. Okay, things are changed. They're not going back to the same way. We have to adapt to all the stressors of recent change, and they're not done. We've never been exposed to this much radiation before in such short order. And the stress adaptation may make us stronger. And in biological medicine, that's part of its tenet, which is our tendency is not just to heal, but to heal stronger in the places we were hurt, and become more resilient and actually more human. We're evolving species. We're not. What if we're not wiping ourselves out? What if we're actually evolving? And let's entertain that idea.
That was awesome, Jill. I did have some questions about the process that you would go through as if I were a new patient. What would someone expect as they want to come in for a European thermography?
Well, I send them guidelines and a link to the website, which will show them also the forms that they can download to record their own neural history. And a neural history is the history of what happened to their nervous system throughout their lifetime, from the time they were conceived. And it will also have some questions about family history. If there was family trauma or intergenerational trauma, if that was violent or sexual, if someone was part of the Great Migration, I want to know about it. If someone became homeless or jobless, or has been through 3 divorces in the last 6 years, or if they're going through a divorce now, all of these processes are going to really deeply affect your system of health, and a lot of it's unconscious, but it's going to disturb your sleep. It's going to disturb all of your patterns of living, and how it's gone through and how it's experienced is a big input into the autonomic nervous system. So I want your story. I want your childhood vaccinations. I want your scars. I want what broke and which side, and if you got poked in the eye, or if all your hair fell out, or whether your mother, everyone in your family had breast cancer, or everyone in your family has thyroid disease. All of these things are going to affect your nervous system. High chance of it. So,
and also, before I forget, what does this cost?
Oh, this costs, there's a sliding scale, by the way, for people who can show me that they are on SNAP program or are on fuel assistance. I'm going to take 150 off. And the price is 350 for everybody else. Okay, so that pays for the test and for your 1.5 to 2 hours of time. And it also affords you follow-up sessions for 1 week, which I can track you remotely. We'll talk on the phone if something else comes up after we've treated this and that. And now you call me and go, well, now my left ankle hurts and it didn't hurt before this, and I don't know why. Then we'll go to work on that. And that's free follow-up for a week, because that's the somatic work that I enjoy doing very much, and I'm learning it. And then if it's more than a week and I've had to put your record away, and I'm going to have to go fish it out and look your test up again, then I'm going to start charging you for those sessions. And that charge is going to be $45 for 20 minutes on the phone or in person, and $75 for up to an hour of tracking and care. So it's extensive, and I think it's very important to spend a lot of time one-on-one with people who have not been listened to well by their physicians in any specialty or in general. Insurance won't allow your doctor to spend more than 10 or 15 minutes with you. 20 minutes is really hard for them. It's going to put them behind the 8 ball the rest of the day. And you're going to feel like they're being hurried. They are. It's not a good way for anyone to take care of anyone. And to take care of the whole person, you got to take the whole hour or two, and maybe the whole week, and maybe longer,
I just actually put a link in the chat to the actual machine website. So if people want to go and look it up.
Yeah, Alpha Thermo. Let's shout
yeah.
out to Dan Beelan, who created this machine, who's a Chinese medicine doctor. That's why you hear so much talk about meridian points. And he's also does Chinese medicine. And he's the one who figured out this algorithm that's based partly in old chiropractic work, partly in Chinese medicine, partly in dentistry. It's all in there, every part of biological medicine. And biological medicine wants to start with this test, no matter how you present. I'm presenting it as breast health, but this test is good for looking at any part of the system that's been out of balance and needs rebalancing. And so it's not just a breast test. You could come in and say, geez, I have GERD, or I can't, I've been told I have IBS and I don't even know what that means. Or, you know, my life hasn't been the same since I got dentures, and I'm really depressed since I can't taste anymore. Or, you know, whatever you say, you know, I never had to have a CPAP before, but now they're making me and I can't sleep. Or whatever, however people present, we're going to take a good hard look at it and see what's related to what else, and not just what happened, but how can we change? How can we make a shift in the terrain to support the resolution of blocked energy? Let it move again. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. And I have maybe it's a personal question or a personal request, but do you have a recipe for your bosom buddy
Oh, yes,
salve we can
absolutely.
share?
Absolutely. Yes, I'll share that with you, and you can post it
Pass
right
it
in the
on.
resources. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's easy to make. The only thing I'm going to add now, when I heat that, I strained the oil. It's on the stove right now in a stainless steel copper bottom pan. And all I'm going to have to do is put in, because it was made from fresh herbs, it has a little higher water content in it. So as the oil heats up, I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of beeswax for every cup of oil. And that should stiffen it up to the perfect consistency. And you can apply it freely, right? This one isn't edible. It has beeswax in it. Well, it wouldn't hurt you. I mean, in fact, they did find beeswax in Neanderthal teeth and jaw. So even they knew you could use it for a sore tooth. Instead of, it was the earliest fillings, I think, that were used dentally. And they were packed with herbs too. So interesting. Like I said, nothing new.
Great. That's great. So we are just almost out of time. There's just like a minute or two left. Anything
Really?
anybody
Wow.
wants to drop into the chat before we close? I will say, again, we have another BioBites coming up in 1 month. We also have a wonderful event that's going to take place in New Bedford at the Kilburn Mill Building. It is with a speaker named Tracy Kidder, who's a Pulitzer Prize winning author. He's going to be speaking with Dr. Jim O'Connell from The Rough Sleepers, that book that was on the New York Times bestseller list. So I'm also going to drop that link in the chat too, or someone will. So at this point, you know, I may just stop the recording, and then if anybody wants to open up their mics and say goodbye, they can.